make sure you go over here and subscribe to my live stream channel. I'll be live streaming on a regular basis from December 19th, 2018. And there will be content on here which you will not find on my main channel. So all of you guys, make sure if you want to be up on my live streams that you subscribe to this channel right here. It's called Haymon Boxing Live, The Objective Perspective. Go over and subscribe now, then enjoy the rest of this video. This is fantastic news for British boxing fans and Al Haymon fighters alike, because PBC and ITV have now revealed details of a 3-year content deal they've done together. This deal will include a minimum of 15 televised events from PBC, which will be spread across ITV's various platforms. And it will showcase the giant stable that Al Haymon has of over 160 fighters. Some of the shows will be US shows. Some of the shows will be UK shows. Some of them will be free to air, and some of them will be pay-per-view. It says here that further announcements on the first PBC shows that will be available to viewers on the ITV platforms will follow in the days to come. Now, there are going to be some people straight away complaining about the pay-per-view element and totally ignoring the fact that there are going to be some free fights. They'll say, oh, well, any fight worth watching, they're going to put behind the paywall of pay-per-view. Listen, it's better that we have some free boxing on terrestrial television than none at all. You're still going to get to see prospects. You're still going to get to see world championship fights involving fighters who the British public are not very familiar with, the general British public. Some of them are going to be good. So there will be plenty of content, particularly for us hardcore boxing fans, that we will find of value. And this will also help to build British talent on terrestrial television. Now, for those of you who are not from the UK, who are not familiar with ITV, just to put it in a historical context, ITV is the second biggest broadcaster in the UK, as far as I'm aware anyway. The second biggest terrestrial broadcaster behind BBC. So they are a big deal. ITV used to show boxing back in the days. They used to show some of Mike Tyson's fights. They showed, for example, Nigel Benn when he fought Gerald McClellan. That was on ITV. That drew over 17 million viewers for that fight on ITV back in 95. That's how big a deal ITV used to be in the UK when it came to boxing. A very, very big deal. The Chris Eubank, Nigel Benn rematch was on ITV. Okay, so a very, very, very big deal. In fact, was the first fight on ITV too? I think the first fight was on ITV too, wasn't it? Or was it on, or am I getting it twisted? It was the first fight on ITV and the second fight was on, I can't remember, but one of them was on ITV. Anyway, it's a big deal. It will showcase British talent to the public. And it's very important because right now, other than Channel 5 doing the odd show here and there, for all intents and purposes, is no free boxing in the UK. But this right here will be a return to free boxing in the UK. That anybody, can turn their television on and watch on one of the major stations across their different channels. The major networks across their different channels, they can watch free boxing. And it will give a great platform for young British talent to build their profile because of the amount of viewers that ITV get, which is an enormous amount of viewers. And it is a station that has a history of putting on big time boxing. So they have experience. And it will also allow American fighters to grow their international audience because they're going to be showcased on a lot of these ITV shows. So it's a win-win all round. And the only people who need to be concerned about this are people like Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren. Because Eddie Hearn puts his shows on Sky and Frank Warren puts his shows on BT Sport. And both Sky and BT Sport are subscription services. They're not free like ITV. Yeah, I know ITV have a pay-per-view channel too, but all of the other ITV channels are free to watch. And PBC shows will be on those channels. But with Sky and BT, you have to pay their subscription services. If you buy a television in the UK, turn it on, there is no Sky on there. There is no BT on there, or at least not BT Sport. You have to pay for that. With ITV, you don't. So it's going to put pressure on Warren, pressure on Hearn, potentially, if they can get the right talent and the right fights, PBC on ITV. It will put pressure on Hearn, pressure on Warren to up their game, and it will also put pressure on the networks, on BT Sport and Sky, to provide better value for money. Because if ITV are putting on certain free shows, which are comparable in terms of quality to a lot of the shows that BT Sport and Sky are putting on, a lot of people are going to say, you know what? I get my boxing fix from ITV now. Let me cancel my Sky subscription. Let me cancel my BT Sport subscription. There are going to be a certain element of people who do that, particularly if ITV and PBC can sign a lot more UK talent, maybe poach some fighters from Eddie Hearn's stable and from Frank Warren's stable. That will really put both of those promoters under serious pressure and both of those networks under serious pressure. And that's what we need. We need a return to terrestrial television for big time boxing, not only in the UK, but right the way across the world. It helps fighters in the long run if they get the maximum exposure. It helps boxing come out of the shadows of being a niche sport, which it has been for, a couple decades now in various different countries. It will help boxing become mainstream again now. Now, right now in the UK, boxing is huge anyway. A lot of people don't even watch the major pay-per-views, but what they do get is the fighters like Anthony Joshua, etc., on social media. They see them on social media. They see clips of their fights, clips of their knockouts, etc., etc. So it is different today than it was back in the days. Fighters have many different platforms with which to build a fan base other than the station that they actually fight on. But be that as it may, boxing could grow to an even next level, including somewhere like the UK where it's very strong anyway. It could grow to an even next level with this PBC deal. Now, again, it's dependent on how well it does, who they can attract, what kind of content they put on, how good they are at promoting the talent that they have. It's dependent on many things. But one fight which people are speculating is going to be a PBC pay-per-view. And, I can understand why it's pay-per-view given the fighters involved and the kind of purses they've fought for in the past. But if Al Haymon could find a way to compensate these two men and pay them a hell of a lot of money, like pay them pay-per-view level money, without making the fight pay-per-view, it would benefit the PBC brand in the UK massively. And you know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about James DeGale versus Chris Eubank Jr. A lot of people believe that's going to be a PBC show in the UK. If Haymon could come out of his own pocket and pay each guy a flat fee that they're happy with and put the fight on terrestrial TV, on ITV, for free for everybody to watch, that would get crazy viewing figures if it's promoted the right way. Crazy viewing figures. Now, I don't know which business model PBC have gone for in the UK. I've been on record numerous times and said that the business model that PBC went with in the US, where they were buying airtime from broadcasters, that model would stand a much better chance of working in the UK than it did in the US, because UK fans are far more passionate and far more supportive of their fighters than American fans tend to be, right from the grassroots level. I mean, you look at UK fighters like Lewis Ritson, for example. He's not a world champion. He's never fought at world level, but he's got an enormous following behind him already. I know he lost, obviously, his last outing, but he managed to gain an enormous following without even fighting for a title. And this is not uncommon in the UK. Many fighters who haven't even reached world championship level yet gain these enormous followings. Okay, so there is a cultural element there, which means, in my mind at least, the PBC model they tried to implement in the United States initially of buying airtime would stand a much better chance of working in the UK. It could actually be a roaring success in the UK. I don't know that for a fact, and neither do you. You don't know for a fact whether that PBC model would succeed or fail in the UK. You don't know, and I don't know. But I suspect it would stand a much better chance of working in the UK than it would in the US. That's what I'll say, because of the way the UK fans tend to be, how supportive they are of grassroots talent. So yeah, this is a big deal. Great for US fighters who are going to be showcased in the UK. Great for UK fighters who are going to be showcased on terrestrial television and getting a big push from PBC and ITV, an enormous broadcaster in the UK. Good times all round. It's just Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren are going to be looking over their shoulders. BT Sport and Sky Sports are going to be looking over their shoulders. But for us boxing fans, it's a win-win situation. So yeah, rejoice. Big time boxing returns to terrestrial television in the UK. All right. Or big time boxing promotion, at least. Because the very biggest fights you have to imagine are probably going to be on box office. But as I say, there are many top quality fighters in the US, PBC fighters, who the UK public are not very familiar with. So when those top quality fighters fight each other, a lot of those fights, I have to assume, are going to be free to air in the UK on ITV, because they're not going to be able to sell them as pay-per-views in the UK because the British public are just not that familiar with those fighters. You know, for example, somebody like Jarrett Hurd, if he was to make a defense against whoever, I mean, even if you had Jarrett Hurd against Charlo next, can you make that a pay-per-view in the UK? Of course you can't. They haven't built them up anywhere near big enough to make it a pay-per-view in the UK. That's the kind of fight you may get to see on ITV, just standard ITV channels that anybody can buy a TV in the UK, turn it on, you know, wait till 4 a.m. in the morning and watch Jarrett Hurd versus Jamel Charlo live. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just giving you an example of the kind of world title fights you could see for free on ITV in the UK with this deal. So I'm very excited about this. I'm very happy about this. I'm very much a glasses half full boxing fan. So yeah, those are my feelings on this. Drop your feelings on it in the comment section below. It's happening. I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.